I didn't put eyeliner on today.
You did not put mascara on, nothing.
I put lip gloss on because I was running on a treadmill, so I felt like a trash bag.
But good for you for running on a treadmill.
Yeah, I get a little obsessive about stuff, which explains a lot in my life, really. So, like, if I can start doing it, I do it, like, kind of psychotic. Like, I was running a 5K every day during the pandemic. It was kind of psychotic.
I worked out 6 days a week during the pandemic, like for like an hour or so. It was a lot. I would like to go back, not maybe to 6 days a week, but like some days a week. But I feel like a broken human when I get home from teaching the youth. So
Yeah. That's partially why I don't feel as broken, because I'm not teaching the youth. I'm teaching the adults.
I'm teaching adults.
So that have paid to be there. So if they don't want to do good, it's their money. So it really does change things, actually.
I mean, I would imagine.
I miss the youth sometimes, though, because the youth, like, have these, like, moments of where it hits, and they're like, look at the timing of that.
I know. I was like,
that was a text from
sound effects.
Josh Patterson. Josh Patterson once again makes it into this week's podcast.
He's obsessed.
Yeah, so he will. I think we're obsessed with him. I don't know that he talks about us this much. He's in a text with me, Kristy, and Taylor of Taylor Tillich. And I was saying last night, I know this just shows that we're really incestuous at beer camp. I was like, which you notice he didn't answer. I said, I know that there's a text chain with Tripp, Nick Polk, Will Rose, Josh Patterson, and Joshua Noel, and I don't know, that group at least, that we aren't a part of.
And you want to be part of it.
I said I'd be their beard.
Yeah. Josh did not answer. And I did take
he
that.
Sure didn't. He sure did not.
Confirmation that group text exists and confirmation that you are not allowed it.
Well, one day I'm going to steal someone's phone if I know the people, and I'll just give them some IPAs or whatever. I'll give them some IPAs and steal their phone.
I think that'll be easy.
I really do. I don't think they would be a really hard sell.
No.
Especially since I talked to Tripp and Kristen about, I emailed about our idea about Rocky Horror. If we're really dressed like that, it'll be a real easy sell.
It will be a very easy sell. I know.
Just be like, IPAs, hobbits, corsets, and there goes the phone. And I don't want any of your information. I just want to be added to the group chat.
Yeah. And she won't, this is what Leah will do, is that she won't actually save anybody's names. So it'll just be like a fun guessing game of like, who's talking to me right now?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I had Taylor's number, but I didn't have Josh. So when he, I think, created that group, I had no idea who that human was.
Leah side texted me and she was like, who is talking to us right now?
Like, I knew I had your number and Taylor's number, and I was like, I know that it's a beer camp boy, but that truly does not narrow that down at all.
That's the entirety of beer camp.
I was going to say, considering, like, of our age demographic, we're, like, the three ladies. Sarah, and Sari, I would add to that as well. And y'all are more than welcome to join our group text, and Kristen as well.
Look, anybody wants to be in a group text with me, I'm down, because I like talking to people as much as humanly possible.
Same. Yep. So feel free.
Now,
if you are a boy group chat, am I going to make fun of you because of what you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. But know that I had brothers, and Kristy had brothers, and you really can't say anything.
I think have those brothers too.
I have a long dating history where
you can't shock me. I lived with 5 guys in college, so let's talk about how very little can shock me anymore.
I tried to think what was the max boy living situation. So I shocked my mom in Edinburgh by living with a guy, which was very un-Baptist of me. Well, and then that proceeded to be 2 more after that. But then I think in Belfast, I lived with 1, 2, 3, 4. Y'all Belfast boys can correct me. I think I lived with 5.
I lived in
Irish guys.
My senior year of college, I lived in a house. There were 3 of us girls and 5 guys. Some of the guys rotated a bit. So like if we just totaled up as many, it's probably more like 7 guys. But the stories I could tell are plentiful. They're plentiful.
You know one really particular one that involves Susie.
I have many
That one
stories.
will not be repeated on any podcast.
None
You
of
can
my
ask me.
stories will be on these podcasts here either, but I will probably tell them to you in person because some of them are really funny.
Yeah. You did actually tell one where you abandoned one of your girl roommates like an asshole, and when someone was coming, your stalker was coming.
Oh,
That one
yeah.
really,
Look,
that
you know
one
what?
sat with me for a while
That
because
because then you knew that I will also abandon you.
yeah, that you'll also leave me. I did say I'd push you down in a zombie apocalypse, but you gave me permission to do that.
I don't want to survive the zombie apocalypse. I
I
have
know
no
we've
desire.
established this.
Yeah.
That's why I'm on my treadmill so I can
Let me
survive a little.
die. It's fine. Shoot me in the head though, because I don't really want to become a zombie. I don't think I
We
would
work
know,
through
but
this.
yeah. Okay.
That would be a fun geek stage thing to do zombie films as well. Anyway, now that
So
Kristy
welcome
and
to
I have
Theology on the Rocks.
where we didn't live out our best evangelical lives or Baptist lives.
We were not.
Evangelical
And cheers. We have a new pope. We don't because we're not Catholic, but there is a new pope.
yeah, but everyone, I'm blaming this exclusively on Conclave and also the billions of Catholics in the world.
Cheers. I didn't know how to make this drink, so I just followed my heart.
I mean, I don't think you can do it wrong.
Okay.
That's real good.
Yeah, it's tasty. Leah, tell our listeners what we're drinking today.
Yeah, so we are drinking a Cuba Libre, which, because it goes with the topic of today's convo, Kristy is about to leave me.
I know.
Which is all the more reason to add me to your group chat. Because this is about 90% of my conversation per day. That and animals is she's going to Japan. She's taking some students to Japan. And so we were contemplating this and thought we should talk about our time in study abroad / leading students abroad because
you've led actual trips. This is my first one that I've led.
Well, I've led two.
I mean,
I've led two
more than me.
To Northern Ireland, well, to the same place, to Northern Ireland. So I led a group of, I created a master's degree in peace building at Glasgow University. And so I led a group of postgrad students from Glasgow to Northern Ireland, as well as Stuart, which was fun. That was in the beginning of our relationship. And he went down the Falls Road where it was like, screw the British. And he was like, I'm not going to say a single word. And then I led a group of Queen's University Charlotte, not to be confused, students to Northern Ireland as well, which was probably the most recent. Well, it was the most recent one I did. And that was undergraduate students. And Lord Jesus Kristy, that's a whole other situation.
Yeah.
I told her at one stage we lost a student, and she had crawled underneath a trundle bed, and she got, I think, mad at her roomies at the time. Because they could drink over there, which is a key bit of this perspective. So, at one stage, they were like, Leah, you need to go in there. And I was like, first of all, these weren't my students. I was at Pfeiffer. I was like, they're not mine. Like, if you lose one, that's on you. I'm just friends with the professors there. But I was like on my hands and knees. I'm like, I am a doctorate under a trundle bed in Belfast. And I was like, hello. And she was like, I'm not coming out. And I was like, cool. Well, I said, but you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You're fine.
And she's like, yeah, but I'm not coming out. And I was like,
cool.
Yep. Out.
Yep. I did.
So there's a lot of things.
When I was a student teacher, because for many semesters of my undergraduate experience, I was intending on being a high school English teacher. And I did 3 semesters of student teaching. And
I would have just gone on ahead and done that. That doesn't. It's a lot of slog to get through to not get the degree.
I was really close to being like, you know what, I hate every minute of this. But there was something, and I don't really remember because I passed I passed my portfolio review. Like, I was really close to getting that degree, and I just didn't. But it's okay because you know what I will never do is go be a high school English teacher. So
sorry, Nick.
I don't want to do that. But one of those semesters, I did chaperone the Future Business Leaders of America went to States, it was in Vail, Colorado. And we were in like cabins, and there were hot tubs. And anyway, as you can imagine, a bunch of high schoolers with access to hot tubs and their own cabin with no chaperone inside of it. There was a lot of drama and a lot of yelling.
If we start doing in-state stuff, then I've got a portfolio because I was a youth pastor, which I don't think a lot of people actually do.
Yeah, that's the only trip I've ever done, but it was a public school trip. It was not and it was business leaders. And you know who are the worst high schoolers is the FBLA kids. And I know this because I was one of them when I was in high school.
You went to a Christian school. I feel like your level of bad was
No,
relative.
but I
You told me you were a really good student
I
yesterday.
saw them. I wasn't the one participating in this, but
Oh,
I was
okay,
like,
okay.
we went to states. I know what happened. I was around it. I was horrified because
Yeah,
I was a goody two shoe, but I was
right. Yeah, the high school stuff wasn't as like dramatic like as some of the college because I wouldn't let them get away with like I did mostly stuff with I was a youth minister in Baptist church, so you weren't allowed to do anything, and then I was the youth minister at a disciples church, which you were again no clue.
you and your
I know it's not my fault. I don't know how to turn it off, which means it'll never go off. It's gonna be it's us. It's Josh again. He's really excited about the Pope. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, the youth minister days were I ruled them with an iron fist, but once they hit like eight, I was a youth minister for 4 years total, and but then when we like I was like you got your cell. One kid like left his cell phone somewhere. And I was like it's dead to you now. Like that's it.
you
I was like
never go
driving
back.
I was driving a van to like Biloxi,
Oh yeah, no.
Mississippi or something after Hurricane Katrina. That's a true story. Anyway, so but the overseas are a different kettle of fish because you really don't have any authority. These kids are 18. They can't well mine couldn't go on the trips unless they were over 18. So your authority is really
Limited.
quite low.
I have an interesting range of ages. So they range from about 18 to like 30 years old. So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what I've gotten myself into, but
You'll have good stories.
I will have good stories, and that is 90% of my motivation for doing anything, including
I told you that
my constant attempts to try to get you to go camping with me.
which now made it to the thing. I was trying to erase all these pictures off of my phone, and I clearly screenshotted those, and then they just lived on my phone. And I was like, I love that I just started with a just no,
Just
like
no.
just no,
Like,
no matter what.
come on.
I love you, but no. So I'm just not a like. Well, I don't know. I've seen some of those bubbles that are like with the wolves and like the big beds that are like romantic and sexy with the stars.
Yeah,
and,
I
like,
mean, those are
you and I
obviously
wouldn't
great.
necessarily be
No,
doing
but we
that,
wouldn't
but
be
we
in that, but
could.
we would have a good time. I mean, it doesn't have to just be the two of us. We can invite other people,
I don't care about the
and
two of
we'll
us. You and I
have.
can have a ball. I don't need other people, but I'm just saying I don't want to be on the ground.
Well, no,
That's
I
my
want
main
us to
thing.
have an RV. Like a little RV that somebody else drives up there, or we can get a cabin. That's fine too. But
I grew up in. Go ahead.
all I really want to do is to be in the mountains with a campfire and like spend the night, doing campfire shit and
Drinking,
yeah, and
talking
talking and
shit.
all of it's like a magical time sitting around campfire.
I can tell you where my PTSD came, and it is not PTSD, but it is something close. Is I because I grew up in Georgia, as y'all know, most of my boyfriends drove like 50s and like were really big on like hiking and mountaining and let's do this sort of sleep on the ground thing, which was really well anyway. So yeah, that was one of their things. So now anytime anyone brings it up, I'm like, I've done that. Like that part of my life is done. It's like Stuart saying, would you, because we were talking about UGA and the master's degree, and he was like, would you go get a PhD? And I was like, no, I've done that. Done. I'm not going to do that again. And I just feel like my camping days are
There are things
done
that
unless
are behind me. Like one of my students one day was like telling me about this club in Tampa, and she was like, "Before you go," and I said, "Stop right there, because I am not going to go to that club." And she was like, "Well, but," and I was like,
like a
"No,
dance club.
yeah, like nightclub, like
Don't I almost say that.
you know, I'm not going to that." I used to go to clubs. I had my lace up clubbing pants, and
I want to know how that worked. Where were they laced?
up the sides, and I wore those
That's
to death. And I had my clubbing. I'm done now. I don't want to go clubbing. It's sticky. Everyone is kind of gross. Like,
the
I
last
get it.
time that
I want to go sit by a campfire. It's fine. I'll take somebody else.
you can don't be like that. You know what you're doing, you youngest child bullshit. You'll take somebody else. I'll take one of my good friends. Oh, go on. You know I'll go if you make it appealing enough. But also, like, I could handle the heat better than you, I bet. If we got the cold is what gets me because the last time I went camping, and already know the story, but our listeners don't. It was in Scotland, and you know how they run deals on those like Groupon sites.
Yeah.
I was with my previous boyfriend who was Irish or is Irish. He's still
still
alive. And he still is Irish. And we got this.
But we
We were
don't.
living together. We were living together. Sorry, Grandma. And we got this group on to go camping in kind of like the Highlands area. And it was only for November and December. And this should have been a red flag for me. Automatic red flag. But we thought, you know what? We'll do this. So we go, and it's a campsite that's on the grounds of like this very majestic sort of like building. And we don't have a car at the time. So it's public transport only. So we get there, we get all our stuff. And we found that it's one of those wooden like triangle huts situation. I don't know what they're called. You outdoorsy people can tell me. Who's that guy that does the like camping with Kierkegaard?
Oh yeah, that
Aaron?
guy. We'll ask him.
You can tell us all about it anyway.
He
So
doesn't say anything.
Kierkegaard
He
or
just
no,
lives in the
I ain't
land.
going camping. I don't care if Kierkegaard's there or not. That almost makes me want to go camping
I'm
less.
absolutely less going camping if Kierkegaard.
I'm less interested in going camping.
Not happening.
No, if we had a theology beer camping tour, I might, because we'd have drinks. Anyway, so it's November. I'm in this thing. There's nothing insulating me here, and there's 2 single beds, so I can't even snuggle up to this man. And the fire. It has rained because Scotland, so the firewood is wet. So we have a giant bottle of scotch, and there is a hot tub. And I look over at one stage, and another couple have got a Groupon thing too, but they have got a car, so they are sleeping in their car with the heat on. So I get in the hot tub. I take the guy. By the way, I want to preface this by saying this is not something you should do.
No,
it is a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
It's a late 20-year. Would I do it today? Possibly, but it still doesn't mean that you should do it. So I climb in the hot tub with the bottle of whiskey. I take it with me, and I spend the entire night in that hot tub.
No.
And I take the cover, and I like cover it up to like here to hold my head up.
Dear God.
I didn't fall asleep though because I was too cold.
You were too
so
cold.
It didn't matter. You know, you just think about that
Here's
when you
the
ask
thing
me
about camping in Colorado is that it doesn't matter what time of year it is. It's going to be cold at night.
Firm no.
You go up to the mountains and like the day will be fine, but the night, like the picture I posted on our Instagram, I'm wearing 2 coats. I don't know if you can tell that, but I have 2 coats on.
Did you put a camping pic up?
I did.
I'll try to find one.
I put camping pics up.
Amazing.
But that was in the summer. Like that was fully June or something. Maybe May, but like it was in the summer. So yeah, it's gonna be chilly. So that's
why do we have to go to Colorado? Spent so much time. Why can't we go to Georgia?
No, but I'm just saying, like, my camping experiences are always cold. Like, okay, I've never had a hot camping experience. I don't know what I would do.
Oh, it's another thing.
Because
it's another
the thing that I don't like about camping, like I love the whole night part, and then you have to go to sleep, but you're cold, and I can't sleep if I'm cold. Like, I cannot do it. And so then I don't sleep, and then I'm grumpy, and then the next morning I hate everybody because I didn't sleep and I'm grumpy. So I'm like, if it was hot, that would be a whole new ball game because then I could at least.
No, you wake up. I'll tell you what the hot experience is like. The nighttime's fine, except it's hot, so you're sweating. And then you wake up at like 4 a.m. because come to find out, a tent is really just an incubator.
Yeah.
So you wake up and you are sweating, and it's not even like light outside because you're so freaking hot.
You're like, this is miserable.
You don't sleep on the other end. You might sleep from like 1 a.m. to 4, but then at 4 you're up and you're drenched in sweat. And you go out and you look at everyone and they all look horrific. And hopefully you have a body of water that you can just strip off everything bit of clothing you have and just go in the water. I swear the last time this is revealing a lot about me in this podcast, but the last time I went camping, I woke up like that, and I was with a whole group of people with like boyfriends, and I just stripped off every bit of clothing I had, and I was like, tell them to turn away. I couldn't like wear the clothing anymore. I was like, if they look, it's on them. I can't be like this. And it was funny because a lot of the girls were like, oh, we're going to do that too.
Yeah.
And then we just made the guys like face away.
Yeah.
And we were like,
I'm always cold. Like I went camping with my brothers a few years ago. This was the worst part about camping with my brothers is that they both have RVs and they didn't have room for me. So my brothers are in their nice RVs with their wives. I am sleeping in a tent with my nephew, and my brother's
the only child thing only goes so far, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Because they were like, you're young. And I was like, I hate this. So I'm in the tent with my nephew. I complained about it enough that my brother brought me a hammock So I was sleeping in a hammock.
I've been
So
in
I
one of
wasn't
those.
on the ground, but it was still very cold. And those two assholes were in their like tricked out RVs, all comfy, whatever. But okay, this is going to be my one camping story that I will tell on the podcast. The
Okay,
others,
we have to move on to the actual abroad
you
stuff.
have already told several camping stories. This is quick. This is quick.
This is her only child. This is what she
This
pulls.
is a
This is
big
why she gets 75 choices as well, and everything's
youngest child, not only.
Whatever. You might as well have been an only child. You told me this multiple times.
We were all camping in one tent in college, and one of our friends didn't want to sleep in the tent, so he was like, I'm going to sleep outside. None of us got any sleep because camping is miserable. And the next morning,
I feel like this was the easiest conversion of you that anyone has ever had.
This is why I've said repeatedly now, we're not going to go camping in a tent. We're going to go in an RV.
But we don't have an RV either.
We
Okay,
find one.
Kristy,
I woke
where?
up. You can rent them.
You're already off the dating sites. We can't find that or a boat now. You were my hope for finding a boat person.
That wasn't going to happen. Only conservatives have boats, and I can't.
I had this conversation with someone at a bar the other night in Charlotte, and they agreed.
That's true. Liberals don't have boats. It's very sad.
Do liberals have RVs?
I don't have any idea. I've never surveyed that. I'll figure that out. But we're gonna
let's find out.
We're gonna go camping. We're gonna go camping. I'm making it a mission. I've given up on my story, so let's move on.
No, tell me the rest of it.
We've moved on. I can't even remember where I left off.
You said you were going camping, and then you started talking about RVs. That's as far as it got.
That is not as far. I just remember
it was.
We were all.
It actually was.
Oh my god! Okay, you led 2 trips overseas.
I did. And I went on 3 trips.
And you went on 3 trips.
In my educational career, one was to Cuba when I was in my master's.
Which is why we're drinking the Cuba Libres.
That's the only thing I wanted to get to. I really just wanted to explain the drink, which I think the drink is having an effect on us right now. I'm just going to say. We're getting very close to Scottish Reception Unhinged at the moment.
This is 2 deeply unhinged episodes in a row.
I think when we start drinking a lot, we fall very much into our oldest sibling, youngest sibling roles. It just goes really quickly back to that. Yeah, so I went in my master's to Cuba, and we did a experiential learning there, which was fun and interesting. And
I don't actually know what you did there. Like, if I'm being honest, I know you've been there. I know it was for school, but like I don't know what.
So it's a kind of interesting thing with the Baptists, because they used to have a thing called mission immersion, which is what the title of the class is called.
Okay.
But now what they typically do is they go to predominantly Christian areas, because the Baptists, at least the good ones, are trying to shift that sort of mission as like colonialization / white savior complex situation. Mm-hmm. So what they do now is they typically go, at least Mercer, to places that are already religious, Christian religious, and you would like do like pulpit supply, or you would like teach Sunday school. So like do something to help the churches that are already there.
Yeah.
So you don't actually have to, you're not like, because it's Cuba. They'd be like, yeah, we love Jesus. Do you want some rum?
We're already aware. Yeah.
We're already there. It's like going to Georgia and trying to evangelize. So that was what it was. So technically it was the mission immersion, but really I just, I have pictures of me very, very sweaty, speaking of hot, teaching a Sunday school class and preaching at several churches with the little interpreter, like not the little, well, she was little actually, but she was an interpreter, shorter than me, beside me interpreting what I was doing. So that's what I did. And then we would go and look at things, and you were supposed to kind of learn about what it was more like what I would argue was a contextual Christianity class.
Yeah.
In the sense that you were trying to learn what Christianity looked like from their perspective, essentially.
That makes sense.
So like we would go to museums and we would go to their churches when we weren't there, and they would translate for us. And so it's just trying to learn like what their flair of Christianity looked like. And so to be in a communist country, it was very interesting to kind of learn about how they went about it. And then I did shut down a computer thing because I Googled CNN. Which you don't do. It's communist. But I loved it. It was great. And so we drank a lot but they have very simple drinks. So this Cuba Libre is Coke. Bacardi, actually, I looked on the thing. It was the only one I had, but it says that it originated in Santiago, Cuba.
Oh, okay, good. So you got Yeah.
Formerly Cuban and lime. And so people drink these and daiquiris like it is their job.
Yep.
And it's a really great chill place. I learned a whole lot, especially about I learned a lot about, you and I have both been to China.
Yes.
But like the Christian groups in China, if they do exist, are underground, hidden usually, like they're not on the forefront. Whereas like the Cuban version of communism had sort of accepted, or Cuba had sort of accept, these people were Christian. Like that's just the system that we're in. Like, so we're going to have to, I think China was like, you have to adjust to us as the Communist Party. And the Communist Party was like, we kind of have to take you into consideration because the population's so big. So it made itself its own version of kind of an interesting Christianity under communism.
I think that's so interesting too. Also thinking about like different ways that religions and governments, not just communism, but any government, I mean, we can talk about it with the US too, how religions and governments exist together, because they don't exist in like silos. It's not like the religion and the government are not interacting. I think especially in the US, we think that they're not supposed to interact because we have separation of church and state, but and then we miss the ways that they do interact, or we don't take it seriously enough until we get to where we are now with Christian nationalism being so pervasive. And so like one of the things that I most appreciate about traveling, and especially traveling with a kind of religious studies in mind, is looking at the ways that religions and governments interact. Because I think when you get out of your own context and you see it, then you can come back home and recognize it better. And that, I think that happened for me with, I did 2 study abroads as a student. One was in high school. We went to Norway. And that was a fantastic trip. And then,
as you do. I say as
you do in a fancy school like mine. And then to China. We also went to Orlando.
I'm sure
For
SCLA.
SCLA. But yeah, it was, I think, because Norway was the first time I ever like really traveled overseas. Like I had been to Canada and the Bahamas, but like those were, vacations with my parents, and also like not, I think, like in the Bahamas we're just on a resort, and Canada, God love them, but it's not like a cultural shock up there.
I've never been to Canada. It's confession.
It's very clean. That's the thing. I remember both times I've been to Canada, I'm always just like, man,
you could tell me anything, and I'd be like, okay, sure.
They do a really good job of cleaning up here. So we went to Norway. We had a day layover in Amsterdam, which was a really interesting experience as a 16-year-old on a high school trip, because I accidentally wandered down the red light district with my Bible teacher.
Accidentally. Not exactly. Once you start, you're on it.
Well, we like kind of got into it, and then we were like
a giant Venus fountain with like rotating balls.
We like walked like a little bit into it, and then we both kind of stopped and we went,
I'm out. Howdy.
We should maybe turn around. But we went to Norway, and we spent 2 weeks in Norway, and primarily working with another high school over there. And it was so interesting to talk with people who grew up in such a different, especially religiously. Norway is mostly secular, like technically Lutheran, but not the way that Americans understand religion.
Technically, they go through the rites and rituals so they can go to the good schools.
Yeah, like it's just so different.
Our Finnish friend has told us about this.
And then to see that much history being kind of a big part of it, like there was overlapping conversation about the ways that they understood religion and their cultural past in a way that Americans don't tend to do because our history sucks, and
it's just short. I'm not gonna let you say sucks. I mean, part of it suck for sure.
And if we're like trying to talk about, I think I've mentioned this before, but I think like we don't do a good job of connecting ourselves to our own actual histories, of being like, my ancestry is this, and so I'm going to connect to that. We just kind of are like America, and then we quit there, or we like just talk about being Irish when it's convenient to be Irish.
We did talk about, I was going to say, actually, you and I both went through our entire, well, not our entire, but our 4 major genealogy points.
Right.
Well, but we didn't address what the Scots and the Irish who came over, did they have slaves sort of thing. We didn't get to that part, because They're trying to erase that part as we speak.
I think it was like one of those situations where they had all of this history to talk about, but they also knew it and they didn't see it as being like weird. Like I remember them talking about like some of the
Something to be afraid
folklore,
of the way that we do.
and yeah, and it wasn't like this like thing to kind of ignore, or it just was so different. I just remember being really impressed by the depth of cultural connection that they had, that especially I think living in Colorado you super don't get at all. So that was,
I think with Cuba, I really respected in a way because I went to China first, and China was great. And you and I can both talk because we both did study abroads there, but it did feel a bit disconnected from religious studies. Like I went over on a religious studies joint trip with psychology as well because I was actually a psych major at the time. And I actually got a lot more info about the psychology of the people, I feel like, than the religious aspects. But Cuba, I think, was more interesting because, you know, we had been taught, at least in the American sense, of how evil communism is and, you know, McCarthyism and the Red Scare and all that in the 50s. And, but I think with them, and of course you can see that in real life, but, you know, I would say any system of government is capable of those atrocities, as we're hopefully not going to happen now, but we can see leaning that way. The Cuban government really prided itself on being Christian in the sense of communalism. Like that was kind of its thing. And like, while you can't Google CNN, so your freedoms are very limited, you never didn't have clothes or food, you know? So like, they sort of saw, and they had like Che Guevara and all of these political figures, Castro, less so actually, I would say, than Che Guevara. Che Guevara was everywhere. But I think because at the time Castro was still in power, so they may be a little bit more suspicious about him. But there was a sense that they were Christian, but they were communist. And when I would talk about being from the U.S., I expected them to be like, "Oh my God, they're the worst." But actually, they looked at me like, the ones that spoke English, like, "Oh, we feel sorry for you because you have to live in this like anti-Christian society."
oh, interesting. Yeah.
And so it was a really different experience than China in that sense of like, oh, they don't really know. That's sort of an evil system that you're in. I always tell the story. I told this at beer camp about the movie theater that I went to, that of course the power goes out all the time. And so we were watching this film, power goes out, we go outside, and everyone's just sitting around sharing drinks and cigars. And had my first Cuban cigar, and everyone's just giving you stuff, and they're all just hanging out, and they're like, I remember a guy bit off a cigar, gave it to me, and said, "This is what Christianity is." Like, the translator I had with me was like, he's telling me this is what it is. And I was like, as the kids say.
Like Briar. I think that that's, I don't know. I think that it's so interesting to think about how we're missing that too. Like obviously there are pros and cons to a lot of things, and we could like list out, and certainly I'm not going to say like which of our countries is in the better situation. I'm not qualified to say that, but like,
no, they're very poor, I will say. Like, like they're not gonna have like iPads, and they're definitely on the $2 system, not the $30 system.
But like,
and freedoms are limited for sure. But they don't have to worry about like basic stuff.
Yeah, for sure. But like, yeah, like what kinds of things could we still be like, hey, the way that this operates is significantly better? And also maybe like what kinds of things do we think make us better that are actually not?
Right. Yeah, seeing some of the rhetoric able to like the Trump administration, and like watching those people getting deported and getting their head shaved and stuff, I was like, is this what we are? Like, Stuart had it on last night, and I was like, I can't watch this because this doesn't even look like a country I recognize anymore.
It is. I mean, it is so terrible, and it is so incredibly, I think, just like we have become the thing that we were supposed to hate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those things were always there. I mean, again, we have some really dark shit in American history and have never been.
And I will say, in Cuba, if that had been a Cuban person that shut down the computer lab, they might have disappeared. So that's,
yeah,
something to take into consideration too, is that I got away with that and told never to come back because I was a white American person and they didn't want to start that. But like, it is important to acknowledge that, in these systems, but right now people are disappearing. And I think that's interesting.
People are disappearing here. We don't have a better situation. I think too, I was reading this article. It's an opinion article in The Guardian, and it was titled, oh no, I'm going to forget. It was something like, I work out instead of going to the pub, but sometimes I think I'd be happier at the pub. And it
You would.
talked about, I mean, yes, obviously, but
As one who's has done both today.
It was a whole conversation about the ways that we have become so obsessive about healthy lifestyles and what's good for us and what it is to be successful and all of these things that are actually like kind of deeply harming us as people, because we've lost a lot of communal spaces. We've lost a lot of ways of being social. Like, we aren't doing things to interact with our neighbors. And I think that's one of the things that, like, when I hear, the movie theater, the power went out and everybody went out and just kind of hung out and shared and communed, I'm like, I would love if we had that kind of a society. I would 100% give up knowing that my movie theater wasn't going to lose power. I think the sacrifice of having like slightly unstable power in something like that is worth what you would gain in knowing your neighbors and having more community and things like that. So like, but I think
not being so mad about that sort of stuff. Like, I think I looked around at the theater and everyone had instruments and alcohol, and I was like, maybe that's just what they do here.
Yeah.
But they were expecting it to happen, or they were at least anticipating it to happen, and they were still going to have a good time either way. Yeah. And I'm like, how cool would that be if that's sort of our mentality?
Yeah, I think
like, we're going to still.
We used to have this kind of stuff. We used to have public squares. We used to go out and be social. I was complaining. I mean, you already know about this, but I was complaining about having to deal with online dating and how like incredibly soul-sucking it is and depressing, but there is no other option. There's nothing.
R.I.P. Brandon.
Like, there's nothing. Daniel.
Oh, sorry, Daniel. I knew it was something like that.
There's nothing, like, even if you go to a bar, you're not going to get hit on anymore. I saw some other like tweet or something, not a tweet because I don't go on Twitter, but the equivalent of saying that like there's a whole swath of Gen Z who's never asked a human out in person. Like, they've only asked people out via text message or online. See, this goes back
to my last week. Is like, I hate that people can't flirt. I love a good flirt.
Flirting is the best, but only in person.
It's the best.
It's weird when you're texting flirting if you don't know that person. Like, you can't do it.
I know. Yes. But like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. 100%. Stuart, when we started dating online, made me hold up, I kid you not, a newspaper of the Scotsman that had the date on it in my face, because he didn't believe that I was who I was when we were flirting.
To be fair, maybe I need to start doing that.
But I look like, if you look at the picture, I saved it somewhere. I was like, I've been kidnapped. And he was sort of like my second or third date on online dating in Scotland. And I was like, no one had asked me to hold up a paper. And I was like, man, who hurt you?
Well, I mean, truly, maybe I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it worked.
Yeah, like, there's something about our soul that has died as a collective community because of our phones and because of the internet and because, and also I think because we have gotten focused on the thing that doesn't matter, which is like having stuff. And I'm a maximalist. I have a lot of stuff, but like,
I can't really, I said, I went like this, but then I looked behind me.
Like, we're not people with like,
but all the walls in front of me are all white, if you want to know. Like, or repose gray.
I'm not saying like, oh, it's fine. I'm not trying to like parrot the orange man and say like, it's fine if your daughter only gets one doll this year. That's not the point of this. It's like, we can say like, is this society successful and good, not based on its material wealth, but based on the health of people in general. And I would say clearly the US is not in that place right now. Like, we are not.
And I would love for this to be a reflective moment for them, and just to look around and be like, York and I talked about this, albeit I ran away very quickly, about capitalism and communism and stuff like that. And it's like, this gets brought up in this discussion about learning abroad, because I think part of the importance of going to other places is to see that the sort of stuff you've been taught, maybe socially, is not necessarily or even at all correct. Mm-hmm. When this is a famous story, but when I told my mom I was studying abroad in Northern Ireland, she got really, really sad. And this was in like 2009. I was like, But because she remembered all this, and it's not to say that everything's okay there, of course it's not, but the Cuba thing too, she was like, you're never going to come back again. I think
my
at that stage,
parents were so
she'd
worried
accept
when I
it.
went to China. They were so worried,
Oh, yeah.
and like, I think that was a great eye opener of seeing like we still have so much in common. Like, I went over there and I talked to girls about boy bands and basketball. They were really into basketball. We talked a lot about like the Spice Girls. It was a
Yeah.
little post Spice Girls, so but like that they were really excited about the Spice Girls, and we were like, yeah, let's talk about the Spice Girls. And it was not like, oh, look at these dying and destitute people. It was like, oh no, these people could be my
Yeah,
friends.
absolutely. It's just to show that just like any other community, whether that's immigrants, LGBT, or China or Cuba, is that they're just trying to keep us separate because as a collective, we are powerful.
Yeah.
And if you keep people scared, then they don't
Yep.
start talking about the Spice Girls,
If you're scared of somebody that you think is other, this
Mhm.
idea of othering people is really like an old idea, but like that's the point, is that if you other people and then like they buy into this, like, oh, those people are bad and evil, it's okay if we deport those people, it's okay if
Right.
those people don't get due process, all of that kind of stuff. But it's not real. Those boundaries aren't real.
They keep the information flowing down so that we point fingers at each other down.
Mhm.
But if we get together and we stop that and we start looking up,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden they have to be held accountable for what they're doing.
I mean, this reminds me of our conversation about 1984 as well. Like,
Mhm.
if you have the enemy, if you have a common enemy, you are really easy to control. Having that enemy is important. Like, you have to have somebody to hate so that the government can be like, all right, it's okay that we've deported this man, or it's okay that this woman has disappeared. You don't care about
Where were
them.
you in China when you went? Where was your study abroad?
So we went to, it was a place called Hangzhou. It has a university there. I don't remember what the university's name is,
What
but
province was it in?
it's near Shanghai.
Okay.
So we flew into Shanghai and then took a bus to Hangzhou, and we were in Hangzhou for most of the time.
Mhm.
We met with students. I went to an English class where they were learning English. It was fun.
Did you learn Chinese? Did you have to do a Chinese class? Because I sure did.
No, we had to learn some sayings and stuff. I was telling my coworkers that the only one that's stuck is how to say, I hear you, but I don't understand you.
I hear you. The words are there. I'm not
Because
doing anything.
they told us, like, if you, like, Americans, the same thing. Like, if you're like, I don't understand you, they'll just talk louder and try to, like, yell the thing at you, but you're still not going to know what they're saying. And so they were like, so say this. So it's ting budong. And you would say ting budong, and then they would go, oh, okay.
When I sent you my grad transcripts, I saw that I had a intro to Chinese language, and I was like, oh, that's a farce. It's true.
I know.
True.
We
I've got
did,
the
yeah, we learned some. I don't remember. That's all. I have ni hao, and I have
Ni hao.
ting
Ni hao ma.
and shay shay.
Yeah.
And that is the end of my Chinese, my Mandarin.
I have I want and I want to go to. Those are the two. So wo shi is, and again, y'all Chinese speakers,
I know,
please
it's real bad.
That means I want wo shi, and I only learned two things, which is shuibi, which is Sprite, and color, which is Coca-Cola.
Oh.
So I could order Sprite or Coca-Cola, and that's it. And
I do a lot
then
of pointing.
Wochu is I want to go to.
Okay.
So I could say Wochu Archita, which is the two arches, which is McDonald's.
Yep. Oh my God. I remember
my teacher didn't speak English. Keep that in mind. So like we were just living the life.
Everybody's fighting for their lives out there. Yeah.
He would hold up a picture of a card like that you show like infants or toddlers, and he would be like, "This is that," and it was like a taxi cab. Wochu. And then a McDonald's symbol. Archita. We were like, Wochi Archita, take me to McDonald's.
That's fantastic. I do remember one time we got into a cab and we were going back to our hotel, and the cab driver spoke enough English. He said, "Where are you from?" And we said, "Oh, we're from the United States." And he said, "You're American? America make war." We were like, "Oh, yeah. Hey."
I was in the Henan province, which is more south. Oh yeah, we thought it was rough then. I was in Zhengzhou and Zhengzhou Dashwei. I learned that in Chinese. When I went to McDonald's, I had to get back, of course. But that was a province that there was not a lot of foreign people
No, same.
at all of any persuasion. And so like I would have people come up and like touching my hair and stuff.
We had like hordes of people that would come up and just point at us and stuff. And one girl started stroking my cheek and said, "So white, so white."
So white. True.
I was like,
I remember the first time I was in like a square and I saw their babies. Again, this was in 2002. Had this little flap where they would just poop.
Yep.
They just like
right there on the street.
Pop a squat.
Yep.
Just in the street, just like, and then it wasn't, you didn't need dry diapers, just like pop the squat.
Just right there on the street.
And
Okay. Yeah, I was in China in 2004. So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, so it's been, we don't want to acknowledge how many years that's been, but it's been a while. So, like, when I talk about Cuba, I actually was in Miami for that conference, and I was in it with a cab driver who was from Miami, and I told him I had been in 2005, 6, and he was like, "Oh, it's totally different now."
Yeah.
So I am speaking about the experience I had at the time.
Yeah.
Now, what his bias was with all that, that's to be told from him. But he had left after I had gone there and came to America, and he was like, "It's really bad now." So, I want to put that flag in the sand.
I mean, obviously, it has been a long time since I was in China. It, like, if I think about the U.S. in 2004 and now, there are some things that I'm like, yeah, it's different. Some things that I'm like, yeah, that's the same, you know? So I assume that that's true for everywhere, right? But like,
China felt a little more scary. Actually, it felt a lot more scary than Cuba to me.
Did it? I did not feel scared at all in China. We were
not scary as in like I thought I was going to get hauled off, but it felt a little more controlled, I guess is the word I would say. Like Cuba felt a little more free. I think the control was like simmering at the bottom and it was still there. Whereas like China, you'd wake up, and I don't know if it was like this where you were, but we would get the intercoms that would wake us up with like it was very Big Brother-esque like information.
Yeah, we would. I do remember feeling like you could tell that people were like, when we would go to the university, there was a like guard, you know, who was watching to see who came on campus and stuff, and there was a lot more of that clear like surveillance, I guess. Though I also feel like a part of it, I remember when I first went to Scotland, and I remember realizing how much CCTV was around and thinking like people are watching here.
There's a lot.
There's a lot more, like a lot more than here. I don't feel. Yeah. I know we have stuff, but I don't feel like if I'm out that there's just going to be video footage of it the way that I felt like in Scotland too.
For your Dateline story, I hope there is.
I hope there is too. Yes, for that.
But I do think China did feel. Speaking of dance club, I went to a dance club that was made entirely of trampolines. Like the floor was a trampoline, and the guys couldn't dance with you, so everything was dressed up as Christmas decorations as well. Because this is an interesting thing, and this was in like the summertime. They associate, at least in the region I was in, wealth with like Christmas? Americanness and Christmas. Yep. Okay. So there was like Santa Claus stuff everywhere, and it was probably like June or May or whatever. And but the guys to dance with you had to bring you a rose. They weren't allowed to dance with you unless they brought you a rose. And then when you go on the dance floor, you were on a trampoline. Like they were, it was like floor level, so you didn't have to climb onto the trampoline. Like you just walked out on the floor, but you were immediately bouncing. And I just remember it being insane because like they drink and stuff there. It wasn't a big deal, but like I got a drink and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do this for a long period of time.
That's amazing.
I like vodka Coke, and I was just like, and I'm bouncing, and I'm already bouncing in my head. So we're gonna have to work something out here. That's and then I remember I walked out of that club, and a guy went by me and was like, big eyes, and like put 2 circles around his eyes and went like this, big eyes. And I was like, I guess this is payback for all those years that people made racial slurs about their eyes.
I feel like, yeah, that might be all right.
I was like, I just went, okay. I mean, yeah.
My favorite experience, not completely, but like one of my favorite experiences in China is that one night we went to Pizza Hut and it was a fancy restaurant with a bathroom attendant. We had to get dressed up, and then
Mm-hmm.
it was hands down some of the best pizza I've ever had in my life. And I have had all of the best. Like, if you're like really passionate about a certain kind of pizza, I've had it from that place, like I've been around. So
Oh, Archie Tao was no joke.
this was fantastic. Like, I just remember we were all sitting in the Pizza Hut and we were like, there were like candles lit. It was like romantic. And we were like,
Ooh.
I mean, it wasn't for us because we were it's a massive group of people, but like we were just like, what in the world? Like, Pizza Hut is so nice here. Why is our Pizza Hut so shitty?
The Tolkien people will appreciate this. I got all the bootleg. I still have them in my giant case. I got all the because it was right as Lord of the Rings was coming out, and if you remember, you always had to wait till Christmas to get the DVDs. And I remember somehow they had they had the first one, which was out. I got the second one, which wasn't out, and I got the third one, which hadn't even, I don't even think, premiere. And I was like, and at the bottom it was like, this is a review copy for the Academy Awards or something. And I was like,
my God.
That's okay, I'll take it.
I bought knockoff Louis Vuitton and like all these brand names. I had Louis Vuitton purses for everyone in my family. I got these really nice wallets, like Hugo Boss, not Hugo Boss, but like something nice for my brothers and my dad. I got all this stuff and and it was all really nice stuff. Like, it was knockoff, but like quality leather. I got my mom this really nice, authentic, like real pearl necklace. It's beautiful. Like, all from the black market. Just you had to be kind of cautious.
What did you notice about religion when you went? Did you notice anything?
Mostly it was very kind of awkward to talk about. I remember a lot of like, oh, we don't do that. We did go to a shrine. There was no one there. It's like just us. It wasn't like, not even other tourists. So you could see like remnants of religion. And good Lord, Doc.
Taylor now. I can tell you. I can see it up here. It's in the top corner now. Taylor's laughing at something.
It was different. It was like the polar opposite of Norway, because Norway felt like, yeah, they weren't necessarily religious anymore, but they were still like, oh, these are our beautiful 1,000-year-old churches. Aren't they gorgeous? Like, look at how we appreciate these aspects of our culture. And in China, it really felt like this thing, like they were like, oh yeah, those are the religious areas. Like,
they felt more historic or something.
Yeah, it just felt like more abandoned almost. Like,
yep.
Not in
with
like
the dynasty
they were falling apart, but like it was definitely like I said, the shrine, it was the opposite of any old churches I've been in. Like, there was no one caring for it. There was no one kind of standing guard. There, these kinds of things.
Yeah.
It felt like this, like, oh yeah, that's a thing people used to do. Whereas, like I said, in Norway, they're not religious, but they're still like, oh, look at this glorious thing.
It's Vikings,
The Vikings.
Just see all the Skarsgårds walking by. And then I just tackle them one by one. Sorry, that was my fantasy, not yours. Anyway, so the history, the little bit of a history of the religions is that there were different dynasties, and usually the dynasties all had religions. They kind of made the religions of the state. And only when the Communist Party came in, the Communist Party of China came in, that kind of stopped being that way. But so the dynasties would be all kinds of interesting ebbs and flows. And like, usually you would only be a part of one dynasty, but you may be on the cusp of two. But if they decided they liked, Buddhism, which Buddhism at the time was a foreign religion, it was an Indian religion that came over. But if you were on the cusp of that and maybe, Taoism or Confucianism or whatever, a lot of the shrines would just kind of, they're kind of combine them all together and put them all there so that the people on the one end can do what they want to do with the other end. So you might get some Buddhist like stuff and then all of a sudden some Confucius stuff too. But like the Indian, it seemed like the Chinese religions or philosophies, if you want to call them that, were much more celebrated and promoted. I think Buddhism was okay, but they were a little sus of it because it was an outside religion. And then Christianity and Islam, by all accounts, it's a little too authoritarian in the sense of their religious, like Muhammad and Jesus. That's not great for them at this moment because of, or even back then, because you have a figure that you like better than the Supreme, who is supposed to be
Right.
kind of your religious figure in a way. So it is interesting to go to these shrines because I went to some too, and they seem to be this amalgam. Like my religious studies professor was there, Rob Nash, who I now teach classes with, which
Yeah.
is so funny. But he would point out all the different aspects that were different religions. He's like, that's Confucian, that's Taoist, that's Buddhist. And then people were just, so I think it's become more of a, you might find this in Japan as well. I did to an extent a little more superstitious in a way. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
I
they do
think
it.
that was kind of the sense like you get a little bit of that from China, those like meldings. Yeah, like here's the bit that's
Mm,
Confucian, here's the bit that's Taoist, here's the bit, But Japan, I'm really excited to see because they became so overlapping and so combined.
mhm,
So that like you have Buddhas in Shinto shrines and like
mhm.
all this. I am really excited. I have one of my students that took my religion class last semester,
Mm.
and so I know she's also pretty excited about the shrines. I roped her into being a nerd about it with me, but like we're
Buddhism in Japan is a really interesting history if you
yeah,
like
I'm
you'd read into
really
it
excited for that part of it. I remember this
because they
part.
did really well. Buddhism did really well.
It did pretty well there, yeah.
I mean, Christianity did too, and Islam too, but Buddhism also did well.
I remember this part also in Norway, though, of like old folklore superstitions still being part of their conversation and really entwined with Christianity, which again, I feel like a little bit we don't have a great grasp of here because we're so like it's only Christianity because it's Puritans. And so we don't have a good way of like, oh, but look at these bits and pieces of cultural
Yeah,
aspects that can be
we're
brought
very Roman
over.
Empire Christians over here, I would say.
Yes,
Like, just
very
eliminate all the other butts.
take out the
And
rest
also,
of it.
I noticed this when Helen was talking about the shows today that the Brits have a lot of shows like Rev, Father Ted that kind of they're funny shows about religion, and we don't have a lot of funny
We
shows
don't
about
have a
religion
lot of
because I
funny
don't think
religion shows now.
we don't kind of let that happen, and I think that's interesting. So I will say the final trip that I took, which we don't have to go on and on about, but I told Kristy about it, and she'd actually heard about it, was the Middle Eastern Travel Seminar, otherwise known as METS, which was run by the Patillo Foundation, which are the Coca-Cola people, as FYI. And the reason I want to mention it is because if you guys are 90s kids and you ever watched The Real World, they essentially wanted to make The Real World for seminary and then send us all overseas together. And it was hilarious. Like, it was like, was it the most educational? Now, upon reflection, because a lot of the places we saw are destroyed, sadly, we spent a lot
Oh,
of time in Syria
oh
and
yeah.
Lebanon. But I will say the human interaction is absolutely hilarious because essentially what they did is they interviewed a bunch of seminary students, and this is all like this was like Southern Seminary, Mercer, Emory, like Harvard, like it was all across the board. And they would just go through and you could sign up to be interviewed. And if they thought you were, I don't know what they were looking for, much like the real world, but if you got picked, you could go.
It's amazing.
And so they came and me and another guy named Greg got picked and we went on this seminar and they put me with a girl named Karen who was from a Southern Baptist seminary in Johnson City, Tennessee. And I think they purposely did it. And it was even when we were on the bus traveling. So we traveled to Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, Israel, Palestine, and Greece. Right. And we went with archaeologists from Harvard, and I'm not really sure where Steve is from, but they were like archaeologists. They weren't necessarily religious archaeologists. Anyway, so they took us all and we were on these buses and they told us we like couldn't sleep on the bus. We had to sit with someone who didn't go to our seminary. So it was like a whole thing paid for completely by Coca-Cola. We didn't pay for a cent. Me and Karen ended up, because she just happened to be a little baby liberal that was in Johnson City, Tennessee. And we became like BFF.
That's
And she's
amazing.
still a friend, yeah, to this day. But like, I remember being in Syria and like straight up yelling at this dude that was from Southern Seminary. And like, he was like, "You are being disrespectful to the people of Syria and to God." And I was like, okay. And I remember later he got married, Kristy, and this is the only thing I'll say about this trip, which there's many more hours I can talk about this trip, but he got married. He invited every single person that was in our class, because we were classes, on to his wedding, except for me.
Except
I
for
was the only one. And he met this girl through a Christian dating site, and he was marrying her. And let me tell you what their wedding song was. Lady in Red.
No, what? That's so weird. That's so weird. Why would you do that? That's so weird.
It was her favorite color.
But did they know? Oh, media literacy is really important, guys. Oh my God.
It's my friend who had gone to my seminary got invited and I didn't. So he forwarded me the email.
It's like people who have their wedding song be like Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On or the I Will Always Love You. Like, do you know what this song is about though?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, it was a really fun trip, and it was really enlightening and game changer, because those trips are cool, but I'm glad I didn't do like the typical sort of like I'm going to the Holy Land trip. Like these, no, I'm not even sure the people who took us around were religious. They were just showing us like stuff. It was a game.
I do think that travel is not travel like go to resorts, because as much as I like to lay on the beach at a resort, like that's not what we're talking about. But like genuine travel where you get to like experience and immerse yourself into cultures with the intention of learning about it, not the intention of just like posting on your Instagram. I think that can be one of the best ways to understand yourself. You're not just learning about other cultures, you're learning about yourself, you're learning about your own beliefs. Because the thing that like taught me the most about Christianity was learning about how other people understood Christianity in other cultures. Because then all of a sudden I was like, oh, a lot of this is just because I'm American. Like all of these things are because of here, not because this is the Bible, like truth, you know? And then to be able to watch how people practice religions, regardless of what religion it is, but to be able to watch that every semester, one of my students will ask me if teaching world religions has like helped or hurt my personal religious beliefs. And I always tell them that it's helped, because I feel like learning about how much we have in common across these varying religions with a lot of differences. Like there's a lot of things that are different about these religions, but there's like really fundamental stuff is the same. And I think that seeing that kind of stuff and then recognizing like, why do I pick? Because this is the other thing they always ask at the end of the semester is, what religion are you? And I always like to have them guess first, which is an entertaining experience. But to be able to like say, okay, I'm practicing this religion, or I understand my beliefs in this way, not because I think I've got some like secret mastermind truth, but because it's the one that helps me and the one that I find the most compelling in light of the diversity of the world. You know,
100%. And you recognize your geography, like we've talked about this.
You
like,
recognize your bias.
Religious. I grew up in Georgia. Helen was talking. Our friend Helen was talking that she grew up Catholic because her family, like
Scotland.
A lot of this stuff is not a choice. Like I didn't wake up from my birthing den and go, today I shall be Christian. Like that was not like what happened. So I think it's also doing, you know, if you can't handle to hear other people's beliefs without vilifying them or ignoring them, then I think your belief is quite small.
Yes.
Because that's not faith. That's not faith or belief anymore. That's confirmation bias. And that is a different thing. If you can only surround yourself, and I say that even with the people when they talk about like the deconstructed stuff, like, you know, don't become the thing you hate. Like there are still qualities about the religious traditions that we grew up in that you maybe can still reclaim. Like I grew up Southern Baptist, and I know Tripp did as well, who does beer camp. And I know many of you who listen maybe did too, but there are still traditions out of that, especially you talked about, Kristy, the communal aspect, which was one of my favorite things about that church that will hold a place in my heart forever. Like we don't have to give that stuff up because we don't, we've quote deconstructed some of the stuff away. So I think that's important too.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize like what our biases are, how our culture has informed us about certain things, but then also to be able to see that everybody is flawed and everybody is trying their best with what they have. And that has come across in a myriad of ways. And some of it has been bad and some of it has been good. And the only thing we can really do is to keep striving to be good with the information we have. But like collecting more
100%.
information is always better. Education is important. Travel, like authentic travel, is important. I know it's really expensive, but we also have more access to like virtual traveling than we used to, and experiencing other cultures. Even if you can't go places, you can still learn about other cultures. Like there's a ton of public theologians and public religious scholars who put up YouTube pages and stuff like that. You can just be like, hey, I want to learn about Buddhism, and you can find really great information out there. And I think that the more we do that, the more like the better we become generally.
I can't wait to hear all about, and this is a genuine thing because I spent a very brief time in Japan, mostly in Tokyo, not academic. I can't wait to hear about Shintoism from Kristy's perspective when she comes back, and that is a genuine thing. And you know what? That does not make me any less Christian.
No,
I'm just genuinely interested in hearing about that.
I'm really excited about it. Obviously, I'm going to be posting pictures on the Instagram, and then I'll
please do
tell you guys all about it. We're there for 10 days, it's not super
please
long.
come hang out with me. Because I'll be all alone.
Somebody's going to need to entertain Leah. Stuart can only
check in on me
for so long.
Stuart doesn't want to hang out with me as much as Kristy does. This is a different version.
But a couple of important things. We picked a book.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean you all picked a book. So good job voting, everybody. It is Slaughterhouse 5. Yes.
Kurt Vonnegut.
Neither of us have read it, so we're both excited about that.
I will say that film major that I mentioned before was obsessed with Kurt Vonnegut too, and the shocking news of the century.
They always are. Oh my God.
But I have never read it. No.
I've owned this book for many a year, and I have never picked it up to read it. So this is good motivation to read books I own.
Stuart got on Amazon immediately because Stuart's in our book club, and so is Mervin right now, and you can absolutely be a part of it. But he looks and he goes, "Oh, it's short. Good.
It is short. Yep. It's not a long
Stuart's
one.
Yep.
Also, we will let you all know what date very soon because we haven't picked one yet, but we'll figure out a date soon.
Because Kristy's got to go away.
I have to be gone. I'm gone for 10 days, and then I'll be really tired for a minute. But
we need to figure out the time difference as well.
It's like 13 hours.
We need to figure it out.
It's 13-hour time difference, which is
Kristy, that's not doable. Nope. Nobody likes that.
Nobody likes that. It's going to be really hard for me. So yeah, but I'm excited for our book club.
Yes, please do sign up for our book club. It was really fun last time.
It was really fun. We promise it is really fun.
It's really nice. And this time we've not read the book. None of us have read the books.
As a reminder, there are 2 levels. So you can sign up to be part of the group that is in the recording, and you can chat with us. We're just as delightful in that as we are right now. And you can yell at us and keep us on track. Number 2 is you can also sign up just to watch the videos later if you can't participate in the actual book club. And you'll get access. Either way, you'll get access to the 1984 video as well. So you can, if you missed that one, you can watch that video.
And I will say that we're doing, as soon as we get this money, we're going to do merch. So we're going to have Theology on the Rock. So that is a good motivation because we all need a Theology on the Rock.
Theology on the Rock shirt, and it can have sayings. You guys can.
I think we need to have sayings on the back, which would be so funny.
So funny. But yeah, there's just a lot of things that we want to do, but it requires money. So we need y'all to join our Patreon.
Sign up for beer camp because we're going to be there.
Sign up for beer camp. You have 1 week left until the prices go up. So make sure you sign up during early bird registration. We're going to be there again.
Do that.
The theme is Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which a bunch of us watched together the other night. And I have to say, it is just as funny as I remembered it being. And I still know almost the entire movie by heart.
Because I think, we'll talk about it later.
You and certain other
I don't have as much British humor as you. I like the film very much, but I don't think the whole thing is funny. I think some of it's not quite as funny as the other bits.
I think there are some
if you want to chop off the arms of that knight when he's still trying to fight, I'm here for that. Fantastic. All day.
Some of it is incredibly British humor, and
it is. And I'm married to one. I should be better at
it. But that's okay. But it was a delight to watch again. Yeah. So we're excited about all of these upcoming things. Join us. Yeah.
Well, we wish Kristy well. Arigato.
Hopefully I don't die on the plane.
You won't die on the plane. Just take the Xanax and it won't matter anymore. On that note, goodbye from us.
Goodbye.
Oh, also, no, I have another announcement.
Yeah.
Sorry, before we go. When Kristy is away, Stuart did a Star Wars quiz at our local bar the other day that truly stumped most of the people there. And so I am going to ask Will from Systematic Geekology if he wants to do maybe like a combo.
Yeah.
And do a Theology on the Rocks Geekology combo while you're away.
I love that.
And maybe do like the quiz and see if people want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes. I'm glad.
We're just going to keep saying, yeah, that's the rum. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's
all right.
the rum.
We'll talk to you guys later.
See you all soon. Bye.
Bye.
I never know when it's actually stopping. That was